Now, we'll go back to the DRC story. We mentioned that there is a warning from the United Nations that millions face death, in fact, if there is no funding as soon as possible. I want to talk more about that. We go to Geneva, where Joel Millman of the International Organization of Migration is joining us live via phone. Joel, welcome to Africa 54.
Thank you, Vincent.
Now, this, this warning sounds really scary. We're talking about millions of people. In fact, what really happened? What happened that we didn't get that? We didn't get that kind of money?
Well, there's a lot of crises in the world right now. But our chief of mission, Jean-Philippe Chauzy, was in Geneva all this week. He was saying the humanitarian situation in the DRC is at a breaking point, as is our capacity to respond due to extremely limited funding. He was saying that, the stories of the Congolese have already been forced from their homes are telling us are absolutely bone-chilling. They have been through so much already with torture, rape, murder, and, it's so hard to sit by idly as they suffer in silence. IOM is appealing for $75 million to urgently meet the growing needs, but, like we say, there's a lot of crises in the world that attracting people's attention.
So in this particular situation, this pledges, or at least the appeal that was made, was of course to governments across the world. Up to this point, only $3.2 or so million raised. The IOM is launching another appeal today, or in fact the UN. What hope is there that some of these countries would come in so quickly to rescue the situation?
I think it's the growing appreciation of just the dire crisis. Funding so far has been received from the EU, the U.S., Japan, Sweden. So we have we're adding up to around $6 or $7 million, but the main obstacle remains funding. It's a very complex. It's a very big country. We have issues to deal with, everything from protection of gender, to securing the supply chain of mining, because mining is funding a lot of the conflict, the scramble for the mineral wealth of a country like the Congo. So, you don't have many places that are this big and this populated that demand this kind of attention. Not that the other crises around the world aren't equally dire. It's just this is a really complex one.
And of course, what makes it even complex is that there's this ongoing conflict, which has yet to be addressed, or at least to end, right?
Yeah, obviously, there isn't really a humanitarian solution to a humanitarian crisis. There's only a political solution. But that doesn't mean we can afford to stop and wait. We just have to do everything we can for as long as we can, for as long as it takes.
Well, Joel Millman there talking to us by phone from Geneva. I want to thank you very much for joining us.
Thanks for having us. We're the International Organization for Migration, by the way.
Okay. Joel, are you still there?
Yes.
Yeah, so here's a question I wanted to ask. From what you hear coming from Jean-Philippe, in terms of the spread of this issue, of the problem, where are the populations concentrated? Are they particularly those who have been displaced, or even people who are within their home areas?
Well, the highest levels of displacement are in Kasai and North Kivu and Tanganyika. This is a vast land. We've got some big cities. We have missions all over the Congo, and all of them are stretched almost to the breaking point.
Okay, so we know there is that appeal by OCHA. There was a kind of a response that is being launched today in Kinshasa. Who is expected to come there? Who is likely to listen to this appeal on behalf of the 13 or so million people?
I'm afraid I can't speak for what OCHA is doing today. I just don't have those details.
Okay. But nevertheless, as the IOM, one of the interested parties, you are still continuing to call on the countries worldwide to come into the rescue of these many, many millions of people in the DRC.
That is correct.
Okay.
We are.
And of course, the timeline. Do you have a timeline by which way you feel like if there is no money by that time, we could start seeing people die?
Well, we're seeing people dying. There's no doubt of that. We are not setting a timeline. We want people to know it's urgent and it's continuous.
Okay. So anyway, we hope for the best. We hope people can step up to the plate. Joel, once again, thank you very much for joining us on short notice from Geneva.
Okay, anytime. Thank you.
All right. That's Joel Millman of the International Organization of Migration speaking to us via phone from Geneva, Switzerland.